Hi everybody, welcome to another FAF TV video. It's me, Dov, back again with Nicholas Caro joining me to talk more about this summer's transfers. So let's talk about Roma, because they've sold a lot of players and they might sell more. So let's talk about it. It's a bit of an interesting topic, and then who they've brought in and stuff like that. So far this summer, I think they've sold obviously Mohamed Salah. They've sold Rudiger as well. Szczesny's left the club, and Paredes, who has joined Zenit St. Petersburg. So they're kind of the big departures from Roma. We'll just kind of deal with them first. Nick, you're definitely going to say that Salah leaving is a massive blow for the Giallorossi.
Yeah, 100%. He's the biggest one, the obvious one for me. You just look at last season's stats alone: 15 goals and 11 assists through the season. That's 26 goals for Roma that he was directly involved in. And just watching their games, you see how much of their attack went down that right flank through Salah.
And do you know what the best connection was in Serie last season? I mean, you can guess.
I'm going to guess it was Salah to Dzeko.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, indeed. So, it's not only Salah, but it's how he combined with those around him. And we saw Dzeko when he doesn't quite get it, it makes a big difference. So, in some ways, Dzeko's got to get a new combination, so that can possibly affect his game as well. So it's a huge blow for Roma for me. Yes, they've got a lot of money from it, but yeah, it's big shoes to fill, and certainly have to think that their attack, unless they spent something wild, is going to start the new season weaker than last season.
Well, as it stands, pretty much. I mean, things could get even worse for them though, because when Rudiger joined Chelsea, he put a little post up on Instagram and it said, "Oh yeah, see you later guys, it was all good, blah blah blah." And then Strootman put something underneath along the lines of, "Oh, see you go, we had great times, hope it's not the last exit of the summer, or not. I hope it's not the last goodbye I have to wish." And then underneath, Raja Nainggolan put, "Oh, I don't know," and like a wee winky face or something like that. And I know if you listen to anything else I've done, I'm not really up on my emojis, so it was something like that. I don't know what it was, which obviously drove the transfer rumour mill wild, and everybody went crazy. Is he staying? Is he going? I think just the other day, Spalletti and Sabatini were talking about Nainggolan, and it's something that they're working on, but I think his words were, "So these things have to mature, and we're just waiting on Nainggolan." So there's a potential that they lose him, and he was another player who was key to their kind of team last season as well. And obviously there are the rumours over Kostas Manolas, about whether he'll stay or go. It looked like at one point he was more or less a Zenit player as well, but that seems to have been put on the back burner a little bit in the last couple of weeks. So what's happening there? Like, why are they just getting rid of everybody?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they were under a bit of trouble with the financial fair play rule, so that seemed to be their first goal for the off season, to make sure they're all in line there, and they've checked all the balances. But now it's kind of, it's holding on to everyone. It is a bit odd in some ways, but I guess you can kind of see Luciano Spalletti leaving possibly had an effect. Hard to say, but it's almost like there's a new era building there. And you mentioned Nainggolan. If he was to leave, that's massive. We talked about a huge goal for Salah, but he arguably the best for Roma. Many people would say he was the best in Serie A last season. I'd certainly put him in my top two. So that would be an incredible.
Along with Mauro Icardi.
No, actually, just have you. But he's a close third. It's a huge hole in that kind of midfield going forward. But just his physical presence is just so incredible. I mean, when you're actually in the stadium watching him, you kind of see that. So yeah, if he went, then, and you've mentioned Manolas, he's a key one in that defence. I think he's a big reason why the likes of Fazio actually worked last season. Where a lot of pundits didn't really give him much hope, but he surprised many, and I think that was a lot due to Manolas, his leadership in that defence. So if he were to go, I think Fazio all of a sudden is under a lot more pressure. So this Roma team is being dismantled almost. So yeah, it's concerning in that it just looked like they'd got it together. Spalletti had actually built this team that were working. The defense was working. The attack was finally coming together. Dzeko was scoring goals, and now it's kind of all coming apart. And it looks like going into next season, and they're going to be possibly going.
Well, we didn't even mention Spalletti's left.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They've lost all the players and they've lost the coach.
Yeah.
Eusebio Di Francesco's coming, who I think is, a lot of people would say he is one of the most exciting coaches in Italian football at the minute. The brand of football he plays is certainly one of the most exciting. So, I mean, if nothing else, you're going to get to see exciting, good, entertaining games at the Stadio Olimpico. But it's like you say, it is a new era. Totti's gone. They've like I said, dismantled the team. They've brought in, just look at my notes, Gonalons has come in, midfielder. They've got Hector Moreno, who's come in, central defender. Karsdorp has come in as well. He's a right back. And Pellegrini, who's joined or rejoined the club from Sassuolo. So, I mean, there's like none of those signings are getting you up off your seat. You're not going to be jumping up and down to see Hector Moreno every single week. But I think we kind of said off camera that they need to buy a striker. They need another striker. They need somebody to fill the Salah void. So, I mean, who could they get to come in and have an impact on that team?
Well, I guess Berardi is the most obvious one, particularly with that Sassuolo connection with Pellegrini. He's the most obvious, and there has been a strong link there. Otherwise, there really isn't anyone else that kind of isn't already seem to be going elsewhere. Like, say, Bernardeschi could be an option, but he doesn't really. That kind of looks like it's more Juventus or Inter. So, probably Juventus. So. Of the ones that are realistically available, Berardi seems the most obvious and the best choice, but it's certainly not going to fill the hole there. It leaves them weaker, and but I think the whole going to Di Francesco, I think it does show that they are looking long term with this. We know that he can certainly build a team over a long term, as he did with Sassuolo, and I think the comment was when he was first hired is that they want someone who can bring in this youth in Roma. Their youth team has been going quite strong in Europe, who can foster them into the team. So they are looking long term, and potentially that's what they're trying to build. So it's kind of been haphazard the last few seasons, and yes, they just got into second place, but maybe they're kind of thinking, well, okay, let's step back a bit. Let's actually build. It might hurt us in the short term, but long term, maybe we can actually win a Scudetto and not just become runners-up every season.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, Di Francesco used to play at the club.
Yeah.
When we were there just towards the end of the season and chatting to the Roma fans, and all they really want is, like, the Roma fans are hungry for Scudetti in the same way that, say, Juventus fans are. Like, Roma fans want a team that plays good football and it's got Romans in it. Yeah. That's all they want. True, they want a team of Romans playing good football, and they'll be happy. So I think, like you've said, that bringing through these young players through the system is something that I think like all Roma fans would just love to see. That's why they have such affection for the likes of Totti and De Rossi, and we probably have for Di Francesco as well, and Florenzi, and the guys that come through the youth system in that team, like the love and the respect and admiration and the passion, everything they get is phenomenal, and that's what Roma fans from Rome really want. It's maybe different for Roma fans living abroad, where they want to see their team be successful. But it's so surprising when you speak to guys who are like, look, I don't care about winning the league every season. I just want to play. I want to go to the ground every week, see good stuff, and see Romans playing for Rome. So there you go. If you didn't know that, now you do. So kind of look at the team. If that's the case, like Roma's youth kind of structure and side is one of the best in Italy, probably second maybe to Atalanta's.
Yeah.
And they bring through vast amounts of really, really good players, and maybe a larger proportion that go on and play for the first team as well, which is something that they should be proud of, and I think they are proud of. But do you think that if this is the direction they're going, to kind of bring through these youth players, it's going to have an effect on the team that perennially finishes second, i.e. they're not going to finish second anymore, they're going to finish third, fourth, fifth, and maybe drop lower?
100%, and that's the thing I think Roma fans might have to accept for the next 1 or 2 seasons, that they're not going to be near a Scudetto challenge, it seems. And I think their challenge is going to be more staying in the Champions League positions rather than competing for a runners-up position behind a Juventus, because certainly you'd have to think Milan have overtaken them. Napoli, you have to think, will be miles ahead of them to start the season. And then you've got Inter, which no one's really sure what they're doing, and Lazio, I guess, in the background as well. So, they're certainly a whole lot weaker, and maybe the fans might have to just kind of accept that there is going to be a rebuilding stage here, and hopefully they have some faith in Di Francesco for the long term.
I think they will, and obviously with Monchi coming in, and he is the transfer guru. They'll be looking for him to kind of build the transfer policy and the scouting network, and get these players in on the cheap. And they do have to sell players every summer for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They've had to sell a high profile player to fall into line with FFP. So maybe this is another thing they're looking at, instead of having to sell a player every season, which can disrupt the club and the side and the squad and things like that, to kind of bring through youngsters, so they don't have to pay an astronomical fees for players, or maybe buy players on the cheap, so they're not paying that much money to maybe be able to build the team. So that will remain to be seen. Right, so this was a bit of a quick one, Nick. Let everybody know where they can find you on the social media.
You can find me on Twitter at Nick Z Carroll, and you can also find me on Facebook if you look up Nicholas Carroll.
There you go. Right, don't find me on Twitter or Facebook, because I don't like them and I don't do them. So best place to go and find some of my stuff is if you go on ForzaTimeFootball.com. There's lots of things there written by myself and other guys, beautiful articles, more videos and stuff like that. Follow Forza Time Football on Twitter at Serie FFC as well. And if you haven't noticed, we do like to involve you guys as well. So let us know in the comments below what you think will happen to Roma next season. Obviously, we're still in the middle of the transfer window, but is this team losing so many big players? Is it going to have an effect? Are they going to finish outside the Champions League stages? How will they do in the Champions League? Comment below. And obviously, we do appreciate your support. So support us on Patreon. The link's in the description as well. Right, so that's us done for a Roma transfer roundup thing. So there's nothing else left for me to say other than arrivederci.